Testing 1 2 3. Test, test, test 1 2 3. And at you, Atlam. I see you there lurking. Did I startle you? Hello, hello. Asmodeus, I've missed you, my friend. How you been? Dude, oh my gosh. I was worried about you. I was waiting to hear back. Oh my goodness. Hydration is important. I often get thirsty, Bridge, and I enjoy water. H2O. 2 portions hydrogen, 1 portion oxygen. Is my favorite beverage. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to Mapmaker Monday. Right? Every Monday I host a stream where I build a map live for you to watch, contribute suggestions, and learn. Sorry, brother. It is cooling off, Atlam. It's finally dipping down here. We actually had like a sub triple digit. Oh my gosh, today is pretty bad actually. The other day it wasn't too bad. It was like a 102. And it was like half the day was sub triple digit. Check this out. This is my week. It's actually quite hot. Anyway, right now it is 9 a.m. It's 93 degrees or 34°C for those across the pond. It is quite warm. Just early. For no reason at all, other than, you know, I live in a desert. Asmodeus, man, I'm sorry you're hurting. I hope you take it easy and that, you know, you are trying to relax and do your best to recover. Excuse me. Can y'all hear me all right? I just want to make sure I'm coming through. So, for those wondering what we've been working on, so like not last week, week before, we started on this build. A little quiet. Remember, you can always turn up the volume, but I will bring the mic in closer just to make sure. I'm going to double check that the volume's not coming through low. Thank you for letting me know. Let's see here. My microphone is at 85, so it's pretty good overall. Anyway, moving on. I want to make sure I have all the chats open. Gosh, why does TikTok always freeze right at the beginning of the stream? I love the TikTok like format, but it seems to have this issue. Quite common. Hey Caillou, how you been? Okay, I've got TikTok open and refreshed. I've got Steam open and refreshed. I've got YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. I'm watching all the chats. Hey, MindPad X, how you doing? At the moment, I am not live on Kick or Trovo. I decided to stop streaming on those services. The integration is poor, and the site has very low traction. In the 2 months we were live there, we had one viewer come through both streams. So, nothing against those platforms. I just think over time they'll probably grow. But we do have the names reserved, so that's good. I am good, Caillou. Thank you for asking. I've been busy. I am kind of sore today. So I've been doing like spring cleaning in the summer. I should have done it in the spring, but we were so busy getting ready for Magic launch that I didn't have time to do spring cleaning. So I've been doing it mostly now. And I mean, little things like just scrubbing, like the walls, the baseboards, deep cleaning my garage because it was just a disaster. Cleaning up and fixing things that my wife has put on a list just waiting. And ultimately I'm just been kind of tired from that, but I enjoy, the community streams because I get to actually just kind of sit and vibe and talk D&D and map make and, do my do. But anyway, hey Robert, how are you? Multi-streaming can get a little intensive on the internet connection, but I actually have a reasonable internet connection. Oh no, Seisu, no worries. I appreciate you being here. But I have a reasonable internet as I'm located in kind of a metro area. I have actually an unlimited data plan, which is kind of harder to find nowadays. I've had it for years, and it's grandfathered. I don't think I'll ever change it. So, last week, I spent a lot of time developing the chapel, or cathedral, which will be the kind of centerpiece of the vast cemetery we plan to build. The week before, we built this entry area, which has a little pond, some trees, a gate, kind of a covered gatehouse type situation. Ultimately, there will be plans for a caretaker's like shack or cabin with like a shed, and there will be lots and lots of graves. Varied grave styles. Some will be kind of older and tattered, and others will be new. The intention is to make a vast cemetery like a vast cemetery plot that is ancient. Hey, Dyro, how you doing? So, as we go through today's stream, if you have any questions related to map making, Dungeon Alchemist, D&D, let me know, and I will do my best to guide you through that. As long as it's related to map making and trying to create a setting, I am more than willing to assist. I think what I plan to do is extend this road here, which has got a good start, and I built off of it. I plan to extend it out further, and I wanted to make this kind of like a parking area for like wagons and whatnot, with like a walk up to this staircase or maybe another access gate. Working the usual. Understandable, Dyro, right? We all got mouths to feed and bills to pay. I hope you're getting some good gaming in, though. Tabletop gaming, right? Asmodeus, will you be here throughout the stream, or is it going to be hard for you to kind of sit and watch? You have time to kill? Okay, I see the message. Okay, I just saw it just above. Will you, are you on YouTube at the moment? You're comfortable? Okay. I'm glad you're able. I just don't want you to overdo it. Do you think you could pop open a YouTube tab? Brick wall, my weekend was busy. Busy. I just been doing a lot of cleaning up and honeydews around the house, you know. Most of my spring cleaning got pushed off till now, which I very much regret because it's very hot. How about you? What you been up to? Do you think you could open up YouTube and drop a chat message there? I just need to know if it's coming through. Asmodeus, that was for you. Sorry. Making a road, because the road needs making. We're gonna make it all the way across the map. YouTube is slow the last few weeks. It is working. Tim, how are you doing? You know, Tim, that's a great question. So Tim from Facebook asks, are there any sites where we can find and import 3D miniatures from a third-party provider? So there are lots of options when it comes to that, but keep in mind, a very important thing to keep in mind is when you start referencing third-party models, you either A, have to purchase it, or B, have to make sure that, you know, that it has a license that allows you to use it either for personal use or for sharing it. When it comes to the workshop, a lot of models on the 3D models on the Steam Workshop have either been personally created, sculpted by someone, and then shared, or sourced from a third-party website, such as like Thingiverse, Sketchfab, etc. But what they do source is Creative Commons licensed models. More often than not, models that you see that are shared will have like a link to where they were shared from and the creator, properly accrediting them, linking to where it was found, and making sure that it is properly distributed as through the license agreement. Creative Commons licensing is a unique kind of artistry style license that many creators in the 3D space use to share their 3D models so people can use them as long as they're not using them for commercial use. So as long as you're not flipping a 3D model to put in a map to sell the map or sell the 3D model that somebody else created, more often than not, you can use them for personal use or even share them, again, as long as you properly credit them. That is a whole legal boondoggle that I don't want to dive into per se. But if it were me in your situation, there's several sites that you can purchase models and or find models for free. I would start with stuff like My Mini Factory, Patreon, Humble Bundle are great sources of models that are cheap and like reasonable quality. Alternatively, there are websites like Thingiverse and Sketchfab that offer free 3D models, but also paid models, depending on the situation and the licensing. Fair enough, Tim. I just wanted to clarify. It is kind of a fine line too, so be careful. And one thing to remember when you import 3D models to Dungeon Alchemist through the asset importer, right? I just saved my map just to make sure. When you import here, you can set models to local, which means they won't be on the workshop, or you can publish them. So any model you have on the workshop, you can publish it. But if you leave it unpublished, right, then it's just a local asset. No one sees it. Alternatively, you can publish it as private, and no one will see it. Only you have access. You can set it to friends or public as well. There's a lot of different options for 3D models that you can import into the Steam Workshop or into the local collection. Gyro, give me one moment and we'll see if we can accommodate that. So right now I'm more or less focused on this cemetery, which I've done little work on today. We're going to have to do some speed work later. But, for example, multi-level was accomplished here with the bell tower. And it's a great example of multi-level in action in DA. But everything above this first floor will need to be done by hand until our next update. Our next update will accommodate AI, multi-level, roofing, flooring, etc., multi-floor. It will have a lot of stuff. There will even be roofing with like a half roof overhang that you could use as half cover, things like that. It's going to be pretty cool. I did this by utilizing our object set. Under the object panel, there is thousands of objects that are stock to DA. But if you go to the structural section, pretty much here is where your creativity can be unleashed. Think of these like Lego or blocks that you can stack and raise up and down and manipulate more freely because they're objects. Objects aren't restricted to the same kind of rule sets that like the AI rooms, doors, windows, walls, floors are. So what I like to do is get into the structural objects. For instance, if you go to freestanding walls, every single wall that is in Dungeon Alchemist as a regular AI wall is available as a freestanding object. What that means in English is you can grab one of these, place it, rotate it, resize it, and if object collisions are disabled, which is a very crucial part of this kind of multi-floor functionality, is raising and lowering. When you disable collisions in Dungeon Alchemist, normally when collisions are on, let's start with that. You can't put objects together. You see that red there? It's telling you no. When you disable collisions, you can merge objects together. You can scale them up and down far beyond their limitations. The only objects that are excluded are objects with a little lock on the corner, like a no lock. They do that because they're a fixed size. And lastly, when their collisions are disabled, a secondary behavior that's enabled is this arrow right here, the up-down arrow. You can raise objects up and down pretty much with impunity. Either to the ceiling of the map height or the bottom of the map height is the impunity. So, kind of back to that point, I'm going to open my multi-level map that our friend here is talking about because it is quite impressive and I like it. I think it's an amazing. And a lot of people ask me about it. I've actually finished typing up all the copy for it. Like I put together a little short story like description for it. And I'm going to be inserting the final images in it probably today or tomorrow and then uploading it to the workshop so everyone can. But essentially, this is a, I guess, 5-story wizard tower. You have the like basement with an escape hatch, right? And then I have the multi-story tower, which was built using the collision toggle and the assortment of objects here under the structural tab. Hey, Plague says on Twitch says, I've been using Dungeon Alchemist recently. I want to let you know my players think it's darn amazing. Thank you. You know, you can say damn amazing around here, right? Because when you save a map in Dungeon Alchemist, it's saved as a .dam. So, just welcome to the community, Plague Root, and I'm glad your players have been enjoying it. Yeah, Mondu gets it. Mondu got the assignment. So this building is a multifaceted fully functional tower that actually can be navigated in first person. I started building this before we offered round rooms through the AI generation, so I built every floor with objects. And how I accomplished this was a combination of objects from the Steam Workshop and stock objects mixed with the collision toggle. This roof, my wife actually made this custom. Mrs. Mac loves to 3D sculpt on our iPad. She uses Procreate, and she made this custom for me. Got a unique weather vane with like a wire running down the side. Nice slate tile roof with a hatch for the observatory on the fourth floor. This fourth floor is the Wizard's Observatory, which is all pretty much except for the deck on one piece. Everything in this room is on this wood floor, which is available in the workshop. I'll show you that really quickly if you go to the Steam Workshop tab in DA. Hey, KO'd, welcome back. How have you been? I've missed you. What you been up to? Let's see here. You can go into the asset browser, and there's collections of assets, right? And one of them is the tower building assets. So you can click download all. There's a bunch of custom-made assets that a very talented creator in our community made named Swedish Cook. Swedish Cook made these, some of it with my guidance while I was making this tower week after week, was helping me by making these objects custom with the different hatch spaces and the stairs. We were testing how well they worked for functionality and like the colliders on them. And it was really awesome working with them to create this. So they made all these different stairs, right? And floors. I downloaded them, no big deal, and started using them in tandem with stock objects. Like this is a stock object. Skier Gamer, we're talking about that right now, actually. If you want to stick around, you'll learn. Welcome, welcome. So, this floor here, I can pull it out, and every object that is on that floor, including the walls, all of the observatory equipment, moves as a solid piece. Isn't that neat? So my plan was to have this be a pull apart where each floor could be kind of pulled off and deleted or moved to the side and viewed independently. So here is floor 4, right? Here's floor 3, floor 2, and then obviously floor 1, which leads out to the exterior where there's an apiary, garden, a loo, a shed, and a well. And then obviously this big rock outcropping, which I like to think what the rock that was put into this was quarried from this big, huge rock outcropping to begin with. Now, using Control Z, I'm going to undo all those steps where I destroyed this, put it all back together. But to kind of build this, I use several different mechanics in tandem. One is objects. Objects have a lot more functionality than the floor plans that you can draw with the AI. The AI draw room can only do the first floor. Sure, you can raise it up and down now, sink it into the ground, raise it up to be kind of on a mountain. You can make them round and diagonal, but you can't do anything above that first floor with the AI. Not until our next update. For now, you jump into the object panel. The object panel is loaded with objects that can be used structurally. In this case, if you go to structural, there's hundreds of thousands of objects, including freestanding walls, round floors. Pair that with objects on the Steam Workshop that you can download to improve your selection of objects to build with, such as the round selection here that I shared just a bit ago. You can start building multi-floor. And all I did was disable collisions right here, which allows you, instead of having objects that are restricted by collisions, they can't be put together because they're colliding, like any normal object in the real world would have a problem, right? It would cause issues, right? You disable those collisions, allowing you to merge objects together, making custom new objects. You can then raise objects up and down when their collisions are off. So this is how I've, kind of gotten that raised up area. And each one of these floors, I made a special point to make sure that the floors are snapped. Dungeon Alchemist has snapping points for most objects. So I actually found a snapping point for the floor, and I built each one of them on that snapping point, so they align very easily. I didn't have to eyeball much except for the height. So pretty much any 3D modeling program that can output an STL, FBX, or a GLTF/GLB file will work for making 3D models for Dungeon Alchemist. Many use like Blender or Tinkercad as an example. Our team actually uses Maya, I'm pretty sure, for some aspects. But basically, as long as you can either source or create a file of those types, you can import them to DA. If it is a STL file, an STL file will import as like a flat gray, kind of like a token without paint on it, and then you can apply a number of different skins to it. Let me show you. This shell, for instance, I've imported this snail shell as both an STL and painted. So you can kind of see them side by side here. Let's put the shell on the green. This one here was a GLB file. This one was an STL. STL files, though, they give you a bunch of like solid filters that you can apply for color. These are great for like conditions for tokens, or maybe just add a color to something really quickly. If it is painted, it'll import with those properties or textures. And additionally, you can import animated objects. Well, Playgroup, then you are like pretty much poised to make some really cool stuff. I mean, as you can see here, like this bee is an animated 3D asset. And it actually has multiple states, so you can switch between them. Oh, that was weird, the bee shifted in size. So there's different animations you can shift between, so it'll be doing something different. Anyway. Moving on from this multi-story stuff. I hope you all learned a lot from this. Got at least some information or idea of what to do. I want to get back to the cemetery. It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kid size KO'd. But I think it's a bug when you change the animation state. It resizes it sometimes. Nope, doesn't seem to do it there. Huh. Okay. Let me show you this tower really quick before we leave, though, because it is a marvel to behold. I'm going to drop my token that I have here inside. Get in first person and take a quick walk. Big bees. So from the interior here, you have what is the observatory. Various observatory tools and celestial measurement tools, and also things that he's scavenged from the cosmic. His massive telescope, and then a deck with a small, area to observe with the human eye or with the spotting scope. The star map and blackboards, whatnot. And then as you can see, there's a wire running down from the roof that was actually on the outside of the spire going up to the weather vane. And I put a little flip switch there to kind of imply that it's grabbing energy. I was thinking of adding another node or two so the energy kind of arcs across the wall to these. Anyway, moving down, this hatch is fully accessible. Go down the ladder. This is the bedroom and bathroom. Nice little bath where he can read his books and relax and enjoy his rubber duck. Little, wash basin. And a big, large bed with lovely tapestries. Our loyal dog Seymour standing guard next to the bed. Hey, Asmodeus, thank you for hanging out in TikTok as well. Don't overdo it, buddy, okay? And then the various, decorations and stuff in his room. Room of flying, little things, trinkets, doodads, his cloak, his backpack, the flesh table's kind of crude, but whatever. Various magical items, and then his wardrobe with, clothing and shoes and magical trinkets galore and treasure. Moving on, we have the spiral staircase as the centerpiece moving down, which goes to the study. The study, as you can see, is a kind of a small library and a place to reflect, read, make, potions and alchemical concoctions, to study the divine and magic of all sorts. Here we have a book wheel loaded with different books and a desk. You'd live in this place if it had internet. I mean, it has the equivalent of internet for a fantasy setting, which is books. Moving down, you have the hearth kind of kitchen space. We have a quaint little stove and sink, different tables, prepping tables, etc. There's some pie and spices, cinnamon, whatnot. Storage for wine, food of all sorts, dry goods, liquids, etc. And then, as you can see here, hidden under the dry goods is a hatch that leads out to that secret escape path we showed earlier. And then this is the entrance exit. It's kind of a double gated entrance. Oh my, went through the wall. It's not perfect in first person, like you kind of have to hobble around sometimes on the stairs to get around. But overall, it's mostly navigable. And it's a nice, comfortable space. I imagine this as the wizard's respite. It's kind of just a private getaway for him to go reflect and practice his magic deep in a massive ancient forest. The only way to really get here is flight or teleportation. Anyway, getting back to our original build. Oops, don't want to do a new. Open my existing map. We're gonna open up the map because we have to map the map. So we had a follow and a like about 10 minutes ago. I just want to say sorry that I missed that. Tex Flicks, thank you for the follow. And David Duff, thank you for the like on Facebook. Alright, let's get back to the build. I need to fix this area. Let's get into the terrain tool, shall we? We are everywhere. Everywhere! But yeah, we're on the TikTok and the YouTubes. I say that ironically, by the way. Hold on, let's see if that's the command. No, that is not the command. Let's try that one. Yeah, there we are. There's our command. I actually kind of am. I'm lurking silently, watching streams. Am I a celebrity, like an NPC in people's sessions somewhere? Hey, Plague Rude, how you doing? Or Misha, I should call you. Hey, it looks like you've watched us before. So you found us. You know where we are. You know what we're about. on TikTok with our secret videos that no one can see except for our TikTok followers. I'm just kidding. We pretty much post the same videos everywhere. They're just vertical on TikTok. Oh, I wasn't insinuating that at all. Actually, Playgroup. I do. I love to drop in and support any stream where I see Dungeon Alchemist maps or streams where they're making maps. So if your DM uses Dungeon Alchemist, inevitably, I will find you and I will support you. Hey, Eduardo, how you doing? What you been up to, my friend? The cemetery needs more flair, right? There's not much cemeterying going on here, but I'm working on it. I'm gonna make this kind of like a parking stable area where people kind of pull in and then park. Or pull in and then park. I know that DM because he's me. Let's hear what's everyone's favorite part of DA. I don't want to toot our horn per se, but I'd love to hear what is your favorite feature in Dungeon Alchemist, and what is your least favorite feature in Dungeon Alchemist. Oh, Mandu. Oh my goodness, thank you for all the likes on TikTok. We have over 1,000 likes now. That's insane. Much appreciated. So I'm trying to decide if I should just drop like a floor in here to make like a quick cobbled parking lot or make it manually. Because I could go into rooms, go to village, go to alley, and then if I disable objects, walls, and just generate floors, right? This is awkward because it's like a weird shape. Let's rotate you. Oops. Trying to decide how far down to go here. What I'm going to ultimately do is make it like that. Oh, that looked clean. That looks so good. I'm not gonna lie. Oh, I'm gonna keep going down for a little bit. Kind of like got a little Nevada going on here. Key is we got to keep it where it won't interfere with the building. It usually has to be about a square between the buildings. Yes, Bruno. You will have to add them manually, for sure. Like this here. is a multi-level like bell tower I built last week on stream. Anything above the first floor, you cannot use this AI room tool. You'll have to go into objects and go to structural and start stacking above. So you have freestanding walls, masonry, all sorts of different construction platforms. Let me show you this like really quickly. Second. I placed that incorrectly. So I want this to snap. I'll hold shift, snap. Objects can stack on each other really easily, and if you disable collisions of an object, you can raise it up and down, you can rotate it freely, you can scale it up and down. So essentially using objects, you can make massive structures, mega walls, forts, castles. Yeah, and by the way, at the bottom of the object panel, it actually shows you that. It says shift, place multiple objects, control, toggle, snap to grid. So if an object isn't snapping, if you hold control, it will snap. Here is the grid. Oh, I have it set to... Why can't I see my own grid at the moment? Anyway. So see there, it's snapping, and then if I hold shift when I place it, it automatically duplicates it. This is like the rapid way to duplicate something, or to use the object brush. So if you go into the object brush, you can select an object like these rock formations and paint them in mass, saving you a ton of time. So big rock outcropping. This is great for nature. I mean, you can do this for all sorts of different objects, though. Pillows, books, candles, treasure, etc. And there's different shapes. How did I do the vertical cut? Oh no, it didn't place it. No, I didn't generate it. I messed up. So when you're placing rooms in DA, right, before you generate the room, you can rotate the room. You can kind of move it around to get an idea of where you want it. You can keep extending the room, right? And then this dot that's in the corner, you can make cuts like this, or pull in to do a round bump. Or if you pull it to the side, then you can do a diagonal bite. And what I'm going to do here is actually hold control. Cut off this. We're going to make this like a parking lot, as we discussed earlier. Yo, Will, how you doing, buddy? Fair enough, Atlam. It is kind of one of those things. I get that. I like that. Okay, so Dairo loves the water. Dairo's favorite is the water. Seisu's favorite thing is the mods. Least favorite thing is the mods. Let's see here. Dairo, you're that guy on Twitter that only, like, reviews video game water? And he's like, wow, the water in this is so good. I'm just kidding. Yeah, definitely stay cool, my friend. Drink a lot of water. Oh my goodness, Will. Speaking of water. Let's see here. Asmodeus Soulpire says, I think my favorite is the ease of exporting to VTTs. I'm not sure my least favorite. I still feel like a noob with the program most days. Need to watch more of these to learn things, right? The more you watch, the more you learn. Now, I'm going to generate this without any walls or objects because I selected the AI panel and disabled everything. The alley room type is typically road, right? So I'm going to use that to my advantage. Oh no, it extended the map without my permission. Not cool. Not cool. It's okay. I'll just shrink it back. Check this out, people. You can grab the corner. You're like, not cool. This is my map. It does not want to be that close to the edge. Interesting. I was not aware of that, like, weirdness. I'll just keep it a little bit smaller. Just undo it a few steps. Where's my room shape? No! It did it again. Huh. Maybe I won't put that over here. It's too close to the edge, and it's like already frustrating the heck out of me. So I'll deal with it later. This tower, Percy? Yes. I've had to double back on this topic like 3 times today. I need to make a t-shirt that says, yes, multi-levels possible, but you gotta do it by hand. It's been possible for years. Well, for like 1.5 years. It is. It's one of those things you just gotta do it. Just realizing how unlevel that is. No. No. We'll figure it out. It's okay. Stream. We're gonna survive. No, Percy, I'm joking, honestly. I'm just totally teasing you because, honestly, we just talked about it just 3 minutes before you came in, and so I just feel bad that you missed it. So, essentially, the object panel in Dungeon Alchemist, you can place objects much more freely than the AI room set. The AI rooms can only do 1 floor. Granted, that floor can be raised now. Like, you can raise and lower it, but only the first floor can be generated with AI. Everything above or, beyond that, you need to do by hand with objects. So the object panel is essentially loaded with objects that are conducive to this. Structural objects, if you will. And, sorry. My eyes are a little sensitive to the light. It's really bright with these cinema lights on me. Hey, BB Skate, how you doing? If you go to Objects, Structural, under here are hundreds of thousands of objects that you can build with and decorate with. So, like, I like these blocks, for instance, because they're great for making, like, a city wall or a fort or something. Many of the objects in here stack. They're not stacking evenly because the ground under it isn't even. Let's do it over here. Even either. I did it. I'm just holding shift while I place this to rapidly duplicate it. But as you notice, many of the objects snap together. This is a really simple example. So all I did was capitalize on the ability to utilize objects' functionality to, have more freedom of movement, especially when you disable collisions. If an object's collision is disabled, before it would kind of interfere with other objects and get like a red marker having problems. When it's disabled, you can merge objects together. They pretty much don't have a problem with each other anymore. You can resize objects up and down, and you can raise them up and down. Not yet, Griffin Helix. Griffin, at this moment, remember we are in early access, so things that, like, may seem like it would, oh, why can you do this very simple copy paste tool? Probably, is more than likely in the works. We have a lot of things kind of on the horizon, but unfortunately, at this time, the ability to transfer a room from one map to another isn't quite there yet. Let's see here, Yitters, where are doors in the objects panel menu? Doors are exclusive to this menu. They have to attach to an AI wall unless you grab them from the workshop. So if you go into the workshop and search browse assets, type door, quite a few options for doors that you can sift through. Hatches, doors of all types, several pages of them. These doors can be placed at any height. Due to the aforementioned collision toggle. Hey, Stormy. Will we be able to draw curved walls without making a room? So, Riot Girl asks, will we be able to draw curved walls without making a room? Can you give me an example of why you would want to do that? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And then I can try to understand it. Do you just want, like, an abandoned room, or... I'm confused. I want to understand more before I answer the question, is all. Stormy, I'm doing great, though. No, Griffin, you can't. There is really no copying of buildings or objects at this time. Really, you can only duplicate the existing object you're placing, or you can copy the properties of objects. So you just said you wanted to draw curved walls without making a room. I'm confused. Now you want to say you want to make rooms with strange shapes? Yes, you can totally do strange shaped rooms. So here's a basis. Just kind of pull some curves in. Let's make this into like an ovoid room. Okay, or like a lemon. It's kind of an interesting weirdness to start. Pull that back out. Instead, we'll do a bite into it now. Like a weird Pac-Man. Make it look like Stewie's head if we want to. Additionally, you can do diagonal shapes. Cut bites. I mean, there's all sorts of weird shaped rooms you can do now. Between rotating and raising and lowering rooms, and the ability to kind of pretty much freely shape the room within a 1-1-2-2-3-3 ratio. Okay. So, I mean, you can change the walls of a house to hedge walls and garden floors after the fact, right? So, generate a structure of however you want with all the walls you want, and then just change them to different walls. So, in this case, like, let's say I generated just a simple mansion, right? I'm just going to start with a shape. Oops, I just generated the floor. Let's do it with walls. So Actually, no windows. And no doors. No window. No doors. And then you can take and then generate within this structure, right? So you could have different rooms within this room and start shaping it with hallways and other things. So let's say you shaped your whole floor plan for your hedge maze using regular walls, and then just go into the wall tool, go to natural, and change them to hedges. There is hedge mazes on the workshop, and that's what they've done. So they just shaped it with regular walling and floors and then gone in and changed it all out to feel more natural. So once I have this as kind of a basis, it's starting to feel more like a hedge maze already. But yeah, I mean, you can go into the wall tool and then just go to change wall or add wall, right? Select the hedge maze and free shape. Start doing some Tron looking stuff here with light cycles. So as long as it starts inside of a room, yes, it'll work. You just gotta kind of have to start it as a room to begin with, and then you can place all these walls. So I've encapsulated this whole maze as a room. This entire thing is a room, but then I can make the maze within it. Does that make sense? Also, I can have openings too, i.e. doors. Let's see, is there like a natural, like arch looking thing? So essentially, you would use the wall tools to either change walls, place walls, or remove walls. I mean, yeah, sure, if you use freestanding walls, but it won't be nearly as quick. I don't understand the desire to do it outside of a room, but if you go to objects and freestanding walls, there is every single wall type, including the hedge ones. So as long as you have a flat surface to work with, you could place these one at a time and make a massive hedge maze. It would take a lot longer this way because they don't have the massive line draw tool. I'm wondering, let me see here. Nope, there isn't a wall option for that. So you would just have to locate the hedges under the freestanding wall. Alternatively, there is a bunch of nature, plants, trees of all sorts. There are other hedges here too. Could be used in tandem. Most of it would just have to be placed by hand this way. Whereas the alternative, I was able to essentially make that garden in just a few minutes by encasing it in a large room. But yeah, I understand your desire there now a little bit better. So you want the freedom creation, but the freedom of creation tools take too long. I mean, there is an option to do it. I've showed you that it is possible. You probably are just going to have to wait until we expand upon the tools available and leave early access to where we have tools that are a little bit more fluid and functional. I mean, I showed you a quick way where it's a little bit more streamlined, but it is kind of restricted to kind of a guided path. And then I showed you a way that is more freedom, but a little bit slower. As of right now, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if it will be changed or developed. Our plans change from update to update almost. Right now, the Fun with Objects update is mostly focused on object manipulation and multi-level. So right now, there really is no talk around drawing rooms or walls outside of rooms freely that I've heard of. At least from what I've read or internal communications. We really only focus on the major update that's directly ahead of us, because if we get too far out, we're a tiny team, will get spread thin. You know what I mean? We can't get too much feature creep. So we always kind of just focus on the now and what we're able to. There are plans, things that we do have in the future, things that are kind of on a board that we want to, address at some point. I haven't really heard anything of being able to just freely use the wall tool without a room. Like if it were me in your situation, I would probably just draw a room without a floor and then have fun with it. Then you can just do walls all over it. Or even a room without walls and a floor. Yeah, it's something we are always worried about, is taking on too many tasks while we, have the dedicated path we have, which is our Kickstarter. And I hope I don't sound too brash or anything. Realistically, I'm just trying to give you a solution, but there's only so many things that'll work. Why won't it let me place these walls anywhere? You would think I'd be able to attach them anywhere in this space. Interesting. So we'll only attach to where there's 4. That is a bug. I gotta report that. Anyway, Riot Girl, I hope I'm not coming across as like rude or anything. I more wanted to understand what you were trying to do. And I get it. I understand you want a little bit more fluidity in the creation of your designs. If for now, I would just kind of use the tools that are available and, share your feedback on the upvote and or during the office hours streams, especially when we have like a dev present, there might be a more of an opportunity to see if they'd be willing to entertain that. Anyway, kind of back to this design. I've been sidetracked a couple times today. Let's make this... I really want this to be like a parking lot, but every time I've tried it so far, it's ruined this whole area. I'm gonna try it one more time. No, I don't perceive what you were saying as difficult. I just don't really have a solution short of the 2 I gave you. Which don't seem like the answers you want at the moment, unfortunately. I try to give solutions more often than I try to, because I can't address, like, development problems today. You know what I mean? I'm not a developer. So I can't go and change the coding right this moment to fix it, right? So it would be somebody else way above my pay grade fixing it. Ultimately, I can take your feedback and pass it on to them. And I would encourage you to create an upvote on our suggestion board, because that would be the place that it would be preserved and more likely to be seen by other people who may share your feelings on the matter. Yeah, I could erase the walls on the edge too, and it'd be a lot less restrictive. There is ways to work around this. I like that, by the way. That'll work. So essentially, the problem is there's just not an auto-generated room with hedges, so it takes a little bit of work to set it up. You could literally just generate a room with just a floor, right? Set it wherever. Any size, space, or shape at this point. You can make it round, a massive round room if you wanted to. And then it doesn't have to have walls, doesn't need to be contained. And then just change it to grass or a dirt or whatever you want the maze to be consisting of. Most hedge mazes are grass, you know, and hedges in them, and then just draw the hedge here. So yes, there is a way to kind of do it, but it is kind of, you know, you just got to set the room shape to be something, I guess, kind of whatever you want the maze shape to be. Village garden has hedges? Huh. Learn something new every day. Yep, I guess it does. Interesting. Okay, so I guess that ultimately what I'm asking is, does it have to be outside this room to still be fun or usable? You know what I mean? Or functional at this time? To make a hedge maze, I mean, why does it have to be outside of a room to still be a hedge maze in your eye? Is what I'm wondering. Because I could make a definitely fully functional hedge maze across this entire map if I wanted to, with this tool. So I'm wondering why the room is such a focus point. It's not necessarily a room, it's just a space to create what you're wanting. There's both, yes. No, it's fine. I'm sorry I'm getting hung up on it. I just really want to understand it more, and I guess I'm not fully grasping it. And that's kind of my fault, because I really want to understand and be able to help you better. Realized how that is not parallel. It's gonna drive me crazy. We'll just undo and see if it'll find it eventually. Well, even then, I mean, ultimately, it seems like I just don't know if it's being developed or if there is even a plan to do it. And if we informed them of this idea now and they thought it was worthwhile, it'd still probably take like 6 months to a year to add. So at minimum, we're looking at like a while turn time. I think what we would probably be best is on the Wednesday streams, I actually take feedback and notes that I pass on to the devs for like, you know what, I'll just add this to my notebook right now to save you the trouble of having to pop back in on a Wednesday. 1 second. Okay, so I put the ability to use the wall tools independently of a room. That's the way I can best comprehend what you're asking, that I could tell the devs that they could see it. And they'll just be like, why not use freestanding walls? Which will be like, oh, I said that. And then, so ultimately, the problem I'm going to have is conveying a useful, simple method for this, you know? Okay, so you want a building with slanted flooring. That's what you've been after this whole time. So basically, like, gotcha. So you're looking for something that's probably 3, 4 updates, maybe 5 updates down the road. I mean, we don't even have a multi-level yet, and you want a slanted room, like a true multi-level. I guess what I'm getting at is, yeah, after the next update, we'll probably be able to better address that in full with time, given that the next update will address multi-level, which will definitely fix a lot of these issues for many people. And then after that, when we have multi-level and roofing, I could see things like slanted rooms or dilapidated rooms being a more of a priority. I think the priority now is a focus on our existing, Kickstarter stretch goals, and then obviously the things we have promised to enhance DA with, which at the moment multi-level is a big, huge thing. Just like round and diagonal rooms were. Things we never promised to add, by the way, that were added into DA's development. As it stands right now, I can't speak to whether it's been considered or not. What is going on? The computer is funky. Oh, man, I slept funky on my spine last night, and I've just been not enjoying sitting this morning. Does anyone suffer from sciatica? It's like, it kills me. It is rough. No, 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 you weren't stressing me out at all. Honestly, more than anything, I was trying to grasp it and get an idea of what you wanted exactly and be able to at least address it to some degree now. Because as it stands, it looks like, it seems more like no one really knows the answer to that, whether it will be addressed or not. And even if we ask the devs right now, they probably wouldn't be able to speak to that, as it's just something that is kind of outside the purview of our standard development considerations. I do think after Fun with Objects is addressed and released, things where, like, you have more object control, tilting objects on any axis would be nice, or on any axes would be nice. And I know the devs are working to address that, but whether or not it will be released in this update remains to be seen. I don't know what it is, but my computer, when I start drawing textures, lags out a bunch. And to be honest with you, I've had our lead dev come up to me. Like, I've been in a meeting with the lead dev and been like, our community members have asked for this. Because I get like a meeting with them maybe once or twice a month where I have a sit down and we discuss what I'm hearing from the community. Unless there's like a massive bug, I basically don't get a lot of face-to-face time with them, as I work remotely in the States in a completely different time zone 9 hours away. So I essentially will take diligent notes throughout the different streams, social interactions, Steam interactions, etc., and I pass, what I feel is relevant information over to the devs. And so sorry I had so many questions. I'm more or less just trying to understand your desire top to bottom, because if I can't speak to it when I have a meeting to them, or be able to express what you want fully, I don't think I'll be able to convince them. Does that make sense? Right now, our next update, Fun with Objects, is deep in development. And here, let me pull this up. One moment. Oops. No. I accidentally hit full screen. It is upvoty. So if you haven't been to our suggestion and roadmap before, like this board, check it out. It's called Upvoty. This is where we host our roadmap and living suggestion board. So you can check out what's being planned to be developed, what is coming up next, and what has been developed. These are the most important to read because these are actually being developed. A lot of people will dive into these feature requests, theme suggestions, object suggestions, and just assume everything in these other ones are things being developed. No, these are suggestions. Merely that. Suggestions can be upvoted, commented on, and the more traction they get, the more likely they are to be developed. Not everything is a viable option to be developed. It may not be possible with our small team. So it's not necessarily a democracy. It's more just a way to get eyes on your suggestions, your input, your feedback, and kind of put it in writing somewhere where it won't get lost. Just type wiki, dude. You don't have to do the exclamation. Sorry, I did away with that. At the moment, there's no ETA on the Fun with Objects launch, but I will say these features are part of it. Multi-level with roof, drag and rotate room, and that means after it's been generated, not just the floor plan, the generated room, okay? Separate ambient indoor and outdoor lighting, meaning there will no longer be a shadow cast from the outdoor sun inside unless there's like a window, right? Overall, the Fun with Objects stretch goal will be realized with this. Place doors without walls, i.e. doors, freestanding doors, which was asked about earlier. Stairs going to have a landing, i.e. stairs going to a location, not just going nowhere, right? So right now our stairs go to nowhere unless you can build multi-level by hand. Indoor balconies and open space, i.e. maybe a pub where there's a balcony and an upper level with the rooms and you could see down through the balcony to the tables below and the pub below. Does that make sense? Or a mansion or a museum, something like that, or a library where there's multi-levels. So, as you can see where it says coming up next, these are things that are guaranteed in the next update. Over here they say planned. There's a few things we want to incorporate in our future updates. Some of them may make it into this update, may not. But overall, they may make it into a future update. One of the things that's been asked is mirroring and flipping objects. Okay? Right? That's something, grouping objects, merging, saving, grouping objects together to make a compound object. Right? Select multiple objects by dragging. Okay? Rotate objects in all directions has been heavily requested. A lot of object manipulation is troublesome because basically in Unity, which is the engine we use for Dungeon Alchemist, has a problem with what's called negative values. And negative values is what's required to mirror an object or rotate it on all axes. And we're working for a solution to that. And we did just add a new lead developer to our team within the last 6 months. So we have a lot more brain power working on the problem. I'm hoping they'll come up with a solution because multi-level and roofing and stuff is already kind of coming along pretty well. These things are up in the air for the next update, especially objects manipulation aspects, mirroring, whatnot. Anything that says stretch goal, that's going to be a future update on all on its own. This here, the Upvote, is a public site. Anyone can check this out, Swifty. Anyone in our community is more than welcome to check this out. Here, I'll drop the link in chat. There's Upvote. Can you drop that copy and paste that message onto YouTube and elsewhere, please? But you can check out our roadmap and kind of follow our active development by checking out that website. That's also our suggestion board, so community members share feedback and ideas there. So just be careful as you're browsing that you don't get mixed up where you're at. Not every time where you're at is something that the devs are working on. So unless it says planned or coming up next, it means it's like a suggestion or a past update. Yep. Anyway, moving on. Enough about that. I honestly, I feel bad, that I don't have a better answer for a future development thing. I do know a lot of our development is set in stone, but some other things are added to it here and there. Because community feedback and suggestions drive our development, and there's often been things added that were never planned, such as 3D asset import, the ability to make round and diagonal runes are just a couple things that come to mind right off the bat that were just never really anticipated to be added. Ultimately, our devs read your feedback, listen to your feedback, they take note of the feedback I share with them, and they try their best to incorporate it without, getting too much feature creep and still staying true to our development plans, to our Kickstarter supporters, which is at the foremost of our mind at all times. Without our Kickstarter, we would not be able to, be where we are today. Hey, thank you for the kind words there, Swifty. Honestly, I do appreciate both constructive and, positive feedback and suggestions. And honestly, earlier, I kind of felt bad that I got so hung up on that. I was more just kind of trying to grasp what was being asked. Fair enough, Swifty. How have you been, by the way? What you been up to? To sell the company? That's a good question. Honestly, I've never heard of the devs' plans to sell or go public per se. They've never discussed that with me. If they have, man, that would be sad. Really enjoy working for an indie company, but I mean, you never know what the future holds. Riot Girl has all the hard questions today. I'll be honest with you. I do know, for instance, one time they sat down uh, with Wizards of the Coast, right? Prior. And basically, they had a sit down with them prior to, Wizards of the Coast plans to announce their upcoming their map maker and VTT. And apparently, the meeting just didn't go well. I guess they didn't really see the value in Dungeon Alchemist or what it offered. And yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to it 100%. I wasn't there. I've only heard about it like second hand, so please don't quote me on this. But basically, the meeting just didn't go positively. We have, however, a very, very positive relationship with Paizo, which I've been very excited to work with them and kind of communicate with them. Like, I was invited to be part of a panel at PaizoCon this last year. Paizo has us as a partner, and we're kind of in their Discord and chat with them. So I ultimately have been very positively influenced by them, while on the other hand, the other brand not so much. But at the same time, our devs are unpredictable. Like, I heard they had a meeting with Larian like 3 weeks ago. Like, our devs went and had a meeting at the Larian studio like 3 weeks ago. Why? Why would they do that? I'm wondering. Are they just going to visit? Was it a tour? It makes me wonder. There's a lot of speculation as to why. Why would they be there? I'm only asking. Larian is awesome. Larian has been a fan of Dungeon Alchemist for a while, so a few years ago. Larian, basically, their lead developer or like some of their team was wandering around a convention that our team was at, and we had a small booth set up with a demo. And they're like, oh, what is this? And they checked it out, and they really, really, really liked Dungeon Alchemist. They played around with it. This was while Baldur's Gate was in beta, like beta, way back before it launched. And so, Swifty, Larian is the developer that made Baldur's Gate 3. I really like kind of that natural ridging there. But they were really impressed with what Dungeon Alchemist could do, right? And they played around with it for a little bit. And yeah, that was kind of the end of the conversation. But all I can say is it was interesting to hear that. And then I guess they bumped into him again at another convention recently, and they wanted to hang out again. So I think that's why they were there. I'm hoping. Too much. Yitters on YouTube says, are there any free place for arrow slits? We actually do have a window that is an arrow slit, if I'm not mistaken. There are a few that pass for them, or maybe it was a door. I can't remember, but I know we have them. Revenant, welcome to the stream. So, as a first message, let's see. I like Dungeon Alchemist, but I wish it had better drop shadows for top-down orthographic view. So ultimately, if the shadows aren't to your liking, remember, we are in early access. There's always kind of things in development being changed and altered and adjusted over time. With time, we plan to make things more, solid and clean. Until then, until we leave early access, I do appreciate feedback like this. Um, One thing that are you? Can I ask how you're using your maps when you're like exporting? Are you using it for a virtual tabletop? Are you exporting for print? Like, how are you utilizing your maps there, Revenant? Which virtual tabletop? Gotcha. So one thing is our next update will be addressing multi-level, and there's going to be a lot of lighting changes to separate indoor and outdoor ambient lighting and things like that. And I'm hoping they might also make some changes to the shadow. Honestly, this is the first time I've heard something like this. People complaining about the shadows not being good enough. In fact, more often than not, I hear from people that our shadows are like really solid. Might I ask which export setting are you using? Are you using orthographic, just straight up orthographic? Because yeah, in an orthographic, there will be far, like in a top down. Yeah, I do admit, our top down exports aren't nearly as detailed or clean as our 3D perspective ones, because that's where we promise to kind of offer a differentiating distinction over our competition, was in the 3D 3D top down perspective. But yeah, I can definitely pass that information on. Um, I get it. When you flatten things, it's hard to distinguish certain stuff because everything almost looks the same. A little bit of drop shadow around the edge of some objects would definitely help them pop. No, I get it. Um, do you just not like the 3D exports at all and prefer the top-down flattened, or is there a reason you avoid those? I'm gonna put a tree. I want to have some living trees, some dead trees. Something like this there. Maybe one grave. I mean, the size of your maps can definitely drastically influence how much grid drift there is. Like, if you're constantly making, like, mega 800 by 100 maps. Okay, so when you have a grid and you export, right? Are you exporting with the grid present in DA, or are you just exporting without it? First off, I need to know some basic information. So are you exporting with the grid on every time you export? Because especially if you're exporting for a VTT, you should export with the grid off. Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to clarify, Revenant. Thank you. So the grid drift you're seeing is what is essentially caused by kind of fisheye skew. When we take the picture of the map, it's centered from the center of the map, not the edge of the map, right? And the wider the map gets as a 3D perspective, the skew gets a little bit further and further from the edge. And this is more prevalent in larger maps. Like, the bigger the map is, the more likely you are to run into this problem. If it's a smaller map, say 40 by 40 or smaller, you pretty much don't run into drift. Another tip that I've heard that kind of solves this is if you put a massive border around the map. There's a creator in our community named Sack who essentially extends the map even further with like a big like pit that's like 20 by 20 all the way around, and it helps center the map more. But yeah, I've honestly, as a player, I've played on big maps that are DA maps, and I've never been too bothered by the walls because I pretty much understand that it's from the base of the wall, not the top. So as you stretch out further away, it doesn't necessarily become a problem. But I could understand some tables or players having, issues with this. Have your players complained about it, or is it more personally like a personal observation that you're not too happy with? I like to hear feedback like this either way. By the way, Revenant, thank you for answering the questions. I know I'm going to have different parts of different graveyards. These ones are kind of just the start. As I go back, I'll have tombs in different areas too. What I'm asking though is, have you alternatively tried the 3D perspectives and your players complained about the visibility there, or was the walls too hard to navigate around in the lines, the alignment issues in the alternative export options? On the opposite edge of the coin, so to speak. Thinking of having like one fresh grave there. Oh, quiet you. Bane, you don't know what you're talking about. How you doing, buddy? What you been up to? Monday's one of my favorite days of the week. I'm not gonna lie. But mainly because I start hanging out with y'all, you know? What I plan to do is some of these like big tomb type structures, right? And then also some of those what are they called? Some of these, right? These regular tombs. And then also there's the things where they like put the urns in. What are they called? These columbariums. Gonna set some of those up. I was gonna have some aisles of them in the back with like kind of like a king's burial that's like up on a pedestal and looks fancy. But I want like regular old graves too that feel like commoner graves mixed in with like just old graves. Like the cemetery needs to feel old and new at the same time. So I'll have bits and parts that are like, oh, they're filling in a grave here, or there's a pit there, or other areas feel really run down and decrepit. I also wanted to put like stuff on the graves, like flowers or coins and things, toys. I know that's kind of morbid, but I was watching a spy documentary and they said that I don't know how true this is, but that cemeteries are like a great place to store things. Oh man, that sounds insane. Like, I don't even understand the logic behind that. But they stay consistent for like hundreds of years, so you could hide something there. And yeah, I don't know. That's insane though, right? Trying to make sure that there's some consistency between the grave spacing. Well, didn't Terminator 2 or 3 do that? Like, Sarah Connor hid like a massive dowry of guns for John Connor in a fake grave. You don't need to buy the burial space per se. They just go hide it somewhere in a massive graveyard. Hey Tatsuya, how you doing? It was T2. Is that what it was? Okay, I could have sworn it was T3 that he did it, but maybe it was T2. No, it was probably T2. Okay, I need a couple more trees, like one big tree over here-ish, I'm thinking. Maybe like a bench or something right here under the tree. Oh, right. Doesn't that doctor like one of the main recurring characters in the show? Because he sees him over and over again. He like tells Sarah she's crazy, but then sees the Terminator, and like every time he's like, "No." Oh, nice. Primal Edge Designs. Uh, I could have been wrong. I was open to being wrong, but there's so many Terminator movies nowadays that it's possible it could have been, T2. So, one thing I can tell you to make a cool graveyard that I haven't done yet, and I was waiting to do it later, is lighting. In the lighting panel, you can quickly make the time of day night, for instance, and I just made this way spookier by making it night, right? Instead of being day, now it's like a creepy graveyard. Alternatively, if you open the light panel, the advanced light panel under this little hamburger icon there, you can click these various icons and, oh, now we've got like a twilight or maybe a blood moon, something like that. So you can definitely make it creepier. Yep, that's definitely 3 then. The one with the vet clinic where he's like where Connor's a transient and he's essentially on the run so he doesn't get locked up in records anywhere so so Skynet can find him. Because if he has like a medical record or a social security number or a rent record, arrest record, they'll find him. So he essentially just has a motorcycle and works under the table and works construction, goes from job to job, but he got in a wreck or something. So he had to break into a vet clinic to steal medicine. And that kind of triggers the, like, hey, they found him because of this. You haven't seen those movies yet? Sorry for spoilers, but it is like 20 years old at this point. You know what I mean? It is quite old. It's hard to not, like... Really? You know, when I was younger, I read somewhere that the term mortgage is a breakdown of Latin, and it's mort, which means death, and gauge, which means like lock or grip. So mortgage literally means death grip. I don't know how true that is, or if that's just a loose interpretation, but it made me laugh. I want to put some like potted plants on some of these. Just looking at some of them. Late Middle English, so it's not... Okay, I was wrong then. Bane, thank you. Appreciate that. Wait, okay. Explain this to me, Playgroup. I want to know more about this. This is interesting to me. Okay. Hey, Guafa, how you doing? What's up, what's up? Every time I see what's up written like that, it reminds me of the old commercials. What's up? That was just awful back in the day, wasn't it? Doing great. Glad to hear it. Yeah, me too. I grew up on it. It's hard to avoid. You know, like... We're going to add some moss onto some of these bad boys. This one's going to be a little... Oh, the Budweiser frogs. Don't even get me started. Man, old commercials. Okay, so Playgroup says, also want to let you know in Finnish, they don't say I love you, they say I hate you the least. That is hilarious. That's hilarious, actually. That's pretty interesting. I did not know that. Guafa, you like the new update? Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. What's your favorite part of the new update? He has to be hiding somewhere in here. I don't normally put Eliza in my maps, but I will today. I don't like tempting fate by inviting her into my life. Help me think of other trinkets I can lay around that are like things people would lay down to remember someone. Maybe like a sword or something. Coins. Oh, I like that. Coins are a good one. Because we have like stacks and bags and... I also want to put them up like on top of the cross areas so they're not just like. Isn't that something in the military? Like if you put a coin on top of someone's grave, it means you visited them and what like rank you were relevant to them. But isn't that like an old standing thing in several militaries? So we could put a coin up here, right? The coin indicates certain aspects of the significance of their relationship, their friendship, or, you know, the rank, right? Ah, you know what? Karen, you are on it. Thank you so much. Is that Karen from Facebook? Oh my goodness. Yes, I recognize your first name. So good to see you. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Good to have you. That makes total sense. I love like that idea. And I will add some coins. I want to add a disbursement of random items throughout, and then we'll use it as kind of a template through the rest of the cemetery. So this is the first kind of swath of graves that we've added. We have the entry point, right? With like a little pond and a gate entry. And then last week we built this massive like cathedral area, and the cathedral has a little secret. Behind the confessional booth is a secret chamber. I feel like I need a cat on one of the graves. Okay, so far we've got flowers that we've added. We've got kind of an overrun grave. I added a doll. We need coins. Let's add some weapons. So let's do a sword. Maybe something lying on the grave, right? Like this. We should probably have it in its sheath. Something like that. Doesn't that look cool? Oh my gosh. That is interesting. I don't know if we have a full metal cage. Asmodeus, do you happen to have a model that would be a full metal cage? I guess I could draw one around it as a room. Instead of like this, right? Oh my gosh, the bells. That'd be creepy. Instead of it having wood, I'd like the frame to be metal. So it's like I could put the whole thing over it like this. This looks good enough. Do you have one already uploaded? Wardian, you let everyone know. No! Karen, I hope you're well. Let's add some candles. I like the idea of some candles. Probably mostly burnt out, right? Just turn off the light. Blankets. Interesting. I've never heard that one. That's the best part about the Mapmaker Monday streams is it's not just me teaching our community how to make like interesting concepts, but our community shares feedback and insights on design. And so usually the maps that are made are like a combination of everyone's ideas, right? Not just the Mapmaker streamers' ideas. Hmm. Nope, nope. You gave yourself away, my friend. It was not me, I promise. Ooh, a chalice might be nice, right? I like that. A letter or like a scroll or something maybe. These are all great ideas, and I really like that we're fleshing out this graveyard to make it feel more visited and alive. It's treason then. How are you, Wardian? What you been up to? Creepy lamppost, definitely Riot Girl. That's a great suggestion. And I think we should probably have them lining the path and paths. I was going to put a path kind of to the other areas. This one obviously is just right off the main path, so it doesn't really need a footpath through it. I was kind of going to flatten this out too and clean up some of the graves near the edge because it just seems just a little too close. But I really like how this is coming together. Your dungeon podcast room? That sounds cool. Will it look like a tavern when it's done? I think I'm going to save. And then we'll sit here and chat. We'll chat about. Karen says, oh, well, very well, thanks. We're moving in our offline groups. Continue to be offline, sharpening our DA skills. Great to have these tutorials. I do appreciate you stopping by, and I'm glad your move is going well. Stay safe, and I hope you have a very safe and uneventful move. You never want a move to be full of to be eventful, because that's when there's like leaky plumbing and the things your mail shows up at the wrong address and all these problems, right? I've had every problem imaginable in a move, so I hope you don't get the moving curses I have. By the way, I saw that you might meet up with the team after your move or something. That is super cool. I'm very happy for you. I have yet to meet my team yet, so I am jealous. We need a D20 on one of the graves. I do like the idea of the gastral, like a ghastly hand. Spectral hand. And I mean, this is a fantasy setting. I'm not too worried about segregating the graveyard. One thing I do notice too is we have a lot of like crosses, so I'm gonna have to like get creative and download a lot of different grave assets from the workshop to fill in the blanks. That, or we could just say this is the Christian graveyard. Yeah, I was planning on putting like a fence or something here, kind of like this wrought iron fence with like an opening coming through, or a gate. Gonna have ghost beef with my favorite, with my fake graveyard. No! I like to do effects last. Fog is a great idea. Lighting and effects are something I typically do very last because they're very demanding on your computer. And so if you do them early, you're bound to run into scaling problems where like the map will be laggy. So I tend to add things like that very, very last. I was considering a hedge separating this. Something like these hedges. One of these ones here, I already pre-sized them. This is going to be kind of like a parking area. But then on the grave side, I was thinking wrought iron. And remember, this place is huge. We're only just getting started. We have a lot to do. There's going to be a groundskeeper's like a shed and a cabin. So there'll be like tools, wagon, like a little like a wagon and dirt and shovels, stuff like that. There will be several aspects of the graveyard. One that's more like fancy with like mausoleum type crypts and columbariums and stuff like that. And then we're gonna have one area that's more run down and old. I already put Eliza in here. We're getting started. But the way I envision this cemetery is it's very old, so there's lots and lots and lots of graves, right? And some of the graves are much older than others. Some are new. I would say some areas are new or more new, but then there could be new graves in older areas because maybe a family has owned a plot in an area for a long time. Something like that, right? Yep, we're going to have a gravekeeper. As I mentioned earlier, there will be a groundskeeper who will have like a little cabin with a shed attached to it full of tools and whatnot. I think that will be probably somewhere over here-ish. I was thinking central. I do like all the brainstorming for next week, though, so definitely am open to any and all ideas. I think we're coming along pretty good, though, so far. All things considered. In fact, let me save really quick before I forget. Potter's Field, huh? Gotta see an example of this. So like a soldier's graves type situation. I was kind of considering various aspects of it would be like an ancient grave from like like an old war. How did I make that road so straight? I kind of did this by hand, I'm not gonna lie. Just a steady hand. So I used the terrain tool, right? And then I did flatten terrain. And then I just slowly went back like this as it's flattened. And then I go over it with a rock to kind of paint it. I use this darker rock first because it paints over the grass really well. And our brush kind of is weighted towards this, like the 2/3 edge, not quite the center. So you gotta feather it around the edges here. And then lastly, I go over it with this brush to make it seem like it's paved. Oh, I wasn't familiar with what the exact term, so thank you for educating me. Sorry about that. Good to know. I might consider something like that, maybe a small, like, unclaimed grave area or something like that. Oof, that's morbid. Well, can I just say today's stream was an absolute blast. I enjoyed answering all your questions, providing support, and building a little bit of a map for you to enjoy and digest and learn from. Remember, during these streams, when we host them, they're AMA format, which means you can ask me questions related to Dungeon Alchemist or, relevant to your campaign, and I'll do my best to try and answer and address them and guide you. As the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, I feel like that puts me in a position to do so. Oh, sorry. Face is itchy. I was digging around in some insulation yesterday, cleaning up. Anyway, thank you for everyone for participating today during the stream. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making utility available on Steam. We host several streams a week. Every Monday is Mapmaker Monday. Every Wednesday is Office Hours. Office Hours is exclusive to our Discord, whereas Mondays and Saturday streams are multi-streams on all our other platforms. You can catch us on every Saturday and every Monday for either Mapmaker Monday or the Dam stream every other Saturday, or the Dam Challenge stream on the opposing Saturdays. The Dam stream is a stream where we showcase community maps that we find on the workshop or assets on the workshop. There's now over 9,000 maps on the workshop thanks to the amazing contributions from our community members. All of these maps were shared by community members, and they're all free to anyone who owns a copy of Dungeon Alchemist. While I'm on the point of over 9,000 maps, I do want to point out that we're currently hosting a giveaway on our Discord to celebrate that massive milestone. This link I just dropped in chat, if you can follow that, and Asmodeus, can you signal boost that on like YouTube or whatever? You can't post it on TikTok, so don't try there. It might get you banned. But if you follow that link, it goes to the giveaway information on our Discord. We're currently giving away 3 custom dice sets that were commissioned by a very talented, well, commissioned by me to a very talented artist. The dice sets are Dungeon Alchemist themed. Each of them is different in their own regard. Oh gosh, my green screen just completely ruins this. Let me play the video really quickly, okay? Right? A Dragon Ball Scouter would be neat. Just trying to get the video pulled up. Stand by. It's in my... So, I don't know if you can hear this or not, but you'll at least be able to see the visuals. Oh no, where'd it go? Okay, so these dice set were all custom made, right? And one winner is getting the glow-in-the-dark dice set plus this double-sided map dice tray. It's a two-sided map that are Dungeon Alchemist maps, snaps up into a tray. And then lastly are the dice sets. One of them has glow-in-the-dark alembic vials, like our little logo, and they're suspended inside. You put them in the light a little bit, they will glow very brightly. The other two, one is green with gold writing and gold flake. The other is clear with green writing and gold flake. All of them are up for grabs, and all you have to do to enter is be a member of our Discord and click enter on that giveaway. We'll be drawing a winner in like 10 days. So make sure you enter so you have a chance to win. You're under no obligation to, pay for anything, or there's no like raffle or anything like that, like an entry fee for the raffle. It's free to enter. You just got to be a member of our Discord. And then the last thing with that, you could be anywhere in the world, we'll ship it to you. So if you are worried, oh, Mac's not going to ship it to me in Australia, don't worry. Enter wherever you are. We'll worry about the shipping, okay? Honestly, I never thought of the balance on the Alembic ones, but they might be a little off now that you say that. So, thank you everyone for participating today in Mapmaker Monday. We'll be back on we'll be back on Wednesday, but office hours is short. I have a meeting with the devs that day that couldn't be scheduled any other day, so I have to cut office hours short to an hour or maybe even less. So we will be present. Office hours will take place on our Discord, but it will be a little short. So we'll see you then. Here is my... Hey, Riot Girl, thank you. Thank you for hanging out. And again, sorry for the confusion earlier. I took notes of your stuff. I'll try and bring it up with the devs when I speak to them later. Everyone, have a wonderful day. We'll see you Wednesday. If not, we'll see you back Saturday for the damn stream. Until next time, we'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. Bye.